Tony Loach. I don't know if you remember.
Lonnie Loach, yeah, Lonnie Loach.
Loachy said something to me that year, and I'll never forget. And he told me after a game, he goes, Pat, how come you don't play with the same passion as you used to?
Oh wow.
You used to be unbelievable to watch. I was like, and so it just showed that I didn't have that same. It was that year was different. So if I knew it, and that my opponent sees that and says that to me, I mean, and it was true. So I feel bad because I wish I would have done more for you to get you that 52. I'm sure if I would have been the player I was the year before then, I would have got you 50, maybe 60 for sure.
That was Patrice Lefebvre, and you are listening to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolin.
Just watch me now.
Welcome to Up My Hockey with Jason Podolin, where we deconstruct the NHL journey, discuss what it takes to make it, and have a few laughs along the way. I'm your host, Jason Podolin, a 31st overall draft pick who played 41 NHL games, but thought he was destined for 1,000. Learn from my story and those of my guests. This is a hockey podcast about reaching your potential.
Welcome back to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolin for episode number 85. Today we have Patrice Lefebvre on the podcast. I'm happy to be here, happy to be your host, and you're in for a good one here with Patrice. Patrice isn't necessarily a household name, not because of his resume, that's for sure, but just because of when he played in the 90s and because he only ended up playing 3 games in the NHL. But those 3 games were super cool that he got them. Patrice happens to be 5'5". Very uncelebrated 5'5", and by uncelebrated I mean that when he played those 3 games, he's not acknowledged kind of in the chronicles of being one of the smaller players to ever play in the NHL as a position player. He had doors slammed in his face his entire life. We talk about that a lot on this during this conversation. Had a hard time moving up the ranks, right? Even to get a shot at a junior team, a QMJHL team, was something that wasn't an automatic. Despite his production at the minor hockey league level, he did get his chance in Shawinigan, and not only did he get his chance, but he made the most of it, scoring 200 points in his season there, his last season there, leading the QMJHL in scoring, second in the league in scoring in his 3rd year. Patrice was productive everywhere he went. He won a scoring title in the IHL level as a pro, multiple time 100-point seasons, won the MVP of the IHL. Like the accolades this guy has just go on and on and on. Played during the 90s, played till he was 42 years old, played with a chip on his shoulder because he had to. He played in a big man era, and he knew how to get it done, and he wasn't going to be pushed around. He wasn't going to be stopped doing what it is that he loved to do, which was play the game, and to most importantly for him was setting people up. He loved to be a playmaker. I happened to be his line mate for 8 games. Way back, I don't remember what year it was, but it was my second trade when I got traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs to the LA Kings on deadline day. I was moved in a deal for Yannick Perreault, and I was moved there, and I tell the story in this episode coming up, kind of a funny travel story there, but when I first arrived on the scene, I was sent to Long Beach to play with the Ice Dogs of the IHL, and Patrice was there. I got put in with Patrice for 8 games. I wanted a 50-goal season on the pro level. When I got traded at the time of the trade, I was leading the AHL in goals. I had 42 goals at the time of the trade. And when they moved me across leagues, obviously the scoring race or titles don't count. So I kind of started from 0 in the IHL. But in my head, I needed 8 goals to get 50 in a pro season. So I ended up getting 5 there with Patrice as my centerman. I ended with 47 on the year, and it was a pleasure to play with him for those 8 games. I get into it a little bit there, like the time we spent together, and Patrice talks about what type of player he was at that point in his career. But a quick story, which I think might be interesting, is just how business-like the game is, and even at the level of the minor league level, where at the time results, let's say, people weren't really worried about rewarding you. They were just worried about where they could get you. For instance, when I did get traded there, it was at the end of my entry-level contract. So I had I think it was a 3-year contract or 4-year contract, your entry-level contract, and my contract had in a deletion clause, meaning that if I played 40 games in the NHL during my first contract, if I played 40 games combined, it would be changed to a one-way. My contract would then be changed to a one-way, meaning if I got sent down to the minors, they'd have to pay me NHL money. And that would also roll into my next contract. So to qualify me as an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, if I made the 40 games, they would have to qualify me on a one-way contract. They couldn't give me a two-way. So what the LA Kings did, and I didn't even really understand this at the time. I was 22 years old and I was just playing hockey and I didn't really understand what was going on or ask too many questions. But when they sent me to Long Beach, it was with the sole intention, I found out afterwards, of keeping me down in Long Beach until LA, the Kings, had only enough games left in the season that I would end up at 39 games played during my first entry-level contract. So they made sure I didn't get my one way. They kept me at 39 games. And then so not only did they do that, but then when I came to camp the next year, I actually came to camp without a contract because what they offered me, and this is the way that the player bargaining agreement was at the time, but all they had to do to qualify me was to give me a 10% raise on my NHL salary from the year before. And then I essentially had no rights. That means that they kept ownership of me, and if I wanted to play, I had to play for them. But where players weren't protected back in that day and age was on the minor league side. So they actually qualified me with a 10% raise if I played in the NHL, but they actually cut my minor league salary in half from my entry-level deal. Even though I just finished leading the AHL in goals and had a super productive year at the minor league level, they did not want to reward me for that. They did not want to acknowledge that. They actually wanted me to sign a contract that would give me a 50% pay cut after having an almost 50-goal season. So that was tough for me to swallow. We were trying to I wasn't negotiating at all about my up salary. I mean, if I made the team, I would be more than happy. It was just more or less my state of mind and my emotional well-being of if I did get sent down that I wouldn't be playing for half the money that I was the year before. So I came to camp without a contract. I came to camp in shape, like they wanted me 215 pounds. They said there was a spot for me on the right wing, and you know that I need to battle for a spot, and so I came to camp uninsured. You know, a lot of people said I shouldn't have, but I wanted to show that in good faith that I was ready to play for this team and I was ready to go. But I wasn't allowed to play in any exhibition games, and then they kept saying, I mean, you can make this team, but you got to get in exhibition games. We have to see you. So, anyways, I ended up signing the contract. I ended up signing with the 50% pay cut in the minors. They wouldn't move on that. And lo and behold, they sent me to the minors. Andy Murray ended up selecting Brad Chartrand, who was a National League guy of his from years before. And you know, I think he might have had 20 or 18 goals like the previous season when I had 47. And anyways, and Brad's a good guy. I know Brad, if you're listening, no disrespect to you at all, but it was one of those scenarios where I did get let go, and I had to play for 50% less money, and now it's a little more meritocracy based, and the minor league guys are protected a little more. But that's one of those scenarios now. Like if I was running a business, like to save 70 grand or 50 grand on a minor leaguer, just because you can doesn't mean you should. In my opinion, I think it should be meritocracy based. I think players should be rewarded for their efforts, and I think that they should be acknowledged as such. And you're going to get, you're going to build a better culture. You're going to grow a better culture. And at the time in LA, I think there'd be other people there that would agree with me that the culture was a little bit broken there for sure. So anyways, a long-winded story on what you have to put up with as a pro hockey player, trying to make it and trying to get your foot in the door. It definitely doesn't go your way all the time, which is one of the reasons why we have this podcast and talking about mindset and all the things that are important to me. But without further ado, I want to get back to the guest of honor here, which is Patrice Lefebvre. Again, a great career, lots of lessons learned. You're going to enjoy this podcast a lot. It was recorded while he was in Italy. I'm not sure exactly what part of Italy, but a long way away. And there was a little bit of a lag, it seemed like. I don't think it's too bad. I listened to most of the recording. I think it sounds pretty good. But just if you are noticing like maybe a couple awkward pauses or things of that nature, that's just because our internet connection wasn't the best. So without further ado, I bring you today's guest, Patrice Lefebvre. All right, we are live with my former centerman for a hot minute, right, Patty, back in Long Beach. But we have on the podcast Mr. Patrice Lefebvre. Welcome to Up My Hockey, sir.
Thanks, Bodo. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Hey man, my pleasure. I love when guys reach out because sometimes, I mean, like DJ Smith, for instance, right? Like, so DJ is a guy I played with in Toronto with the Baby Leafs. Got his number, and he claims he wants to be on the podcast, but like chase him around, and like never shows up. I'm still gonna get him on, but then it's awesome when I got guys that I used to play with, like yourself, that'll say, "Hey, if you need a guest, I'd love to have you." And it's like, my gosh, that'd be so perfect. So thank you for making it easy. Thanks for being willing, and look forward to chatting with you.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure again.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we'll just start there, then we'll go back and talk about your own journey, because it's a pretty cool one, even from when I knew, but like where we crossed paths, because I was with Toronto, as I said, and then I ended up getting traded for, who the heck was it now? Yannick Perreault. So Yannick Perreault at the deadline from Toronto, and when I went over to, actually, that's a funny story. You probably don't even remember this story, man. We're going to start the whole episode off with a doozy. So I was in St. John's for about 3 years, right? 2.5 seasons. And so I get traded at the deadline. When my agent calls, they're like, "Oh yeah, the Kings don't play." At this time, they thought I was going to go to Los Angeles, right? The Kings don't play for 3 days. You're going to be on a flight tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., whatever, here's your hotel. So obviously the boys take me out in St. John's, right? So the boys take me out, like, and in St. John's, it doesn't close there, right? So like we're essentially out all night, pack up, get on the plane. You can't fly any farther either, like in North America, from St. John's, right, to Long
all the
Beach.
way down.
Yeah, so then I find out that we're going to Long Beach. So I'm like, okay, so we're going to Long Beach. That's where I'm starting. Get into the dressing room with my gear and eating peanuts on the plane and haven't slept, and Boxy's there. Right. So Boxy's waiting there, and he's like, "So you ready to go tonight?" And I see my jerseys in the stall. Right. So I'm like, ready to go. Like, so in my head, I'm like going, holy shit. Like, no, I'm not ready to go at all. But then I looked at him like, yeah, I'm ready, So what do you say? Right. So I go back to the hotel, try and grab a quick nap and some type of food and get back. But so here's the funniest part. So I go back, Patty, to the rink. And I was in there for like 3 seconds, right? The first time, that big rink in Long Island, in Long Beach. And so guys are warming up when I get to the rink. And I don't know, I've never been to the IHL, right? I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone on our team or the other team. So I started shaking hands and I'm introducing myself, right? Guys are on the bike outside. I'm walking in the room. I've like introduced myself to 6 guys. I'm in the room and the guy says, "Hey kid, I think you're on the wrong team."
That's funny.
I legitimately went in the wrong dressing room, started talking to all the boys. Oh my god,
guys! Hey
what
guys!
a donkey, eh? So you probably don't remember that, but I like tail between my legs, like over to the ice dogs, introduce myself to all you guys. So that was the my introduction to the IHL. My goodness, what a mess!
That's pretty smart. If a guy's had a long flight, long night, doesn't want to get hit, just go introduce yourself to the other guy's team. So hey, that guy's pretty nice.
Yeah,
we'll take care of him.
We'll leave him alone.
That's good.
Oh my god! And then of course, everyone from LA was there too, like Dave Taylor and like their assistant coaches, to watch that game. So, anyways, I don't think I stunk it up too bad, but my goodness, like you never know in pro hockey what you're going to get, right? It's like,
oh god, no, absolutely. That's funny though.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So, but yeah, that was fun actually. We'll get back to Long Beach, I guess, because you that was the year that you actually played games in the NHL. So we'll
right before coming,
yeah, we'll go back and talk about that. But so you grew up in what part of Quebec did you grow up in?
In Montreal. It's called Point Saint Charles. It's Mark Bergevin is a neighborhood friend. We grew up together and grew up in the neighborhood with kind of the grungy neighborhood of Montreal in those days in the 70s. So yeah, it was a tough neighborhood to grow up with, but it was actually good for, like you talk about, making yourself a man, like we can say in those days, and taking some confidence in yourself and going through a lot of different things with poverty and violence and just like that. So was a big thing in my life when I grew up, especially with the 70s with the Parti Québécois, and we had the train crossing with the other part was the English speaking people. The other side of the crossing was the French guys. Was always meetings in schools and stuff like that, and it was a bit of a rough neighborhood to grow up in.
Wow. So it sounds like it's way rougher than you're letting on too. Like,
Well, but when you live in it, it's something you don't really realize. But after that, when you go out from it, then you go, okay. But in a way, it kind of helped me get through, like you said, for the next chapters of my life to get through with that.
well, yeah, going into a corner probably for a hockey puck seemed a little easy after the start.
Well, yeah, we can talk about that, especially at 5'5".
Well, yeah, I mean,
No, it's true. It actually, no, it's true. It actually, when you have to go through things, and there's so many stories about my own friends, and that we can talk about later. But yeah, it's that neighborhood actually, you know, made the kind of the person who I am, or the player I became as well, with not being scared of anyone or anything, and making it through anyway. So yeah, that helped me a lot too.
right. Well, yeah, I mean, we haven't even gone to your height yet. I mean, because I didn't really want even, well, I wanted to talk about it because it's relevant, you know what I mean? But I'm sure that's the first thing that
Yeah,
people want to talk about, or I mean, is obviously noticeable. You mean right off the bat?
yeah,
You mean it says 5'6" in hockey DB, but you just said 5'5". So
yeah.
is that
It's
what you are?
5'5".
5'5"?
5'5", yeah.
Yeah, 5'5".
Probably shorter now. The older you get, you're supposed to shrink. So maybe I'm 5'4" now.
Right. But yeah, man. But so 5'5", you're born in '67, so you got 9
Yeah,
years on me. I guess the '90s was really when the game was the biggest. Like kind of like that era when you were
yeah,
in Las Vegas there going through that. The league was huge. Everyone was big, right?
yeah,
They wanted
yeah.
big guys, and everyone was large. Like being 5'5", how like well, first of all, you had to have a different mindset for sure, right? How you said, like you had to have a belief that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Is that what you carried with you? I assume.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, I believe in myself. I mean, I was raised by my grandmother, and my grandmother always, because she knew what was going on. And my dream since I was 3, 4 years old, when I first started playing skate, was to be a hockey player and play in the NHL. And but growing up, you see the differences after a while. But I always strive to be the best, and to prove everyone that I could play. Because in '70s, well, '80s, especially my junior years, there was no room for me. So '90s, when I became a pro, so yeah, it was always had that have that confidence, a bit of that cockiness, if I can say. But I needed that to make sure that I could play, and show that I could play. So that absolutely, that mindset followed me through my whole career.
Yeah, I've actually talked about that a little bit sometimes with my clients, but even on my platform, and like that difference. You said the word cocky, and I think there's like a subtle difference between cocky, confident, and swagger.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like,
yeah,
and maybe you
absolutely.
were cocky, I don't know, but like I definitely know, and I see it with guys, like when like when you just kind of know, like you can just see that they
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
it's not I'm better than you, or it's not like you're worse, but it's
No,
just like it's a belief, right? And that's where I
yeah,
call like the swagger. I mean, I
yeah.
like when I see kids with swagger.
It's a belief that I can do it. It was not about that I'll show you. It shows that I can do it, and I will show it. Like, I will show it. I know in myself that I can do it. So that was more. You can't get in at 5'5" in the corner, and shoulders down, and that's it's not gonna work. And especially what you said in the '80s and '90s was about big guys, and intimidation was a big part of the hockey game. And so I made sure that I was not intimidated, and I showed that. So I had no choice to do that too. So it was kind of a barrier I had to put in front of me.
I love that. And there wasn't like was there an example for you growing up like that you saw? Like one of the people I talk about is oh my gosh, now I'm drawing a blank in his name, but that 5'4" guy that played in Columbus. Oh my goodness.
Ernie,
What? Who?
is that
Oh,
Ernie?
Nathan
His name?
Gerby. Nathan Gerby. Yeah. Nathan Gerby. I can't
Derby,
believe I
Derby.
blanked
Yeah,
on him. 5'4", and he had a
yeah,
great article in the Players Tribune. I don't
yeah,
know if you read it, but like about, and it was
no,
essentially about belief, right? Like it was about everyone in the world essentially told him that he would never make it because he was too small, right? And so, but one of his belief systems was that my size will not dictate my future, right? That's going to have nothing to do with it. So
Yeah.
he believed something that nobody else believed. And because he believed that, he put in the work required for it to get done, and he
Mhm.
showed up on the ice in a way that allowed him to get it done. And that's where like mindset is like so massively critical. But like for these younger guys coming up now, like they got to see a Nathan Gerby in there. I mean, I know there's not many 5'4" hockey players, but for the guys that are smaller, like, wow, is that inspiring to see him standing beside Zdeno Chara, right? Like, holy smokes. Did you have
Oh, yeah.
somebody that you were looking at growing up? Like Fleury was a smaller player. I don't know if you liked him or not, but
Yeah, but like you said, I agree what you say, but you still have to have, was it different times when the rules, there were no rules anymore when the younger, smaller guys finally could make it. But I mean, for me, my idol was Yvan Cournoyer, was captain of the Montreal Canadiens. I wore number 12 my whole life until junior major because of him, and because he was smaller, and so it's funny when you say that because you still have somebody to give you a chance. So you can do all the work, you can do everything on the ice, you can have that extra work, extra motivation, but if that person doesn't give you a chance, it's not going to happen. So fortunately, hockey's changed in the 2000s, 2005 and six. It started with the taking the rules off and stuff like that, and finally, it's open space. But even though, um, in the 90s, I mean, I know it's going to sound pretentious, but I've played against all the big guys that had great careers in the NHL, and I still dominated. So so it was a bit of a unwritten rule of, if we can say, it's a strong word to say racism, but short guys could not play, and there's nothing in the rule book of the NHL that says there's a height limit. So it was yeah. I could have had a 15, 20-year career in the NHL. Who knows if I would have had that chance, besides the height, because the year that Vinny Danfus, and I'm not saying I'm better than Vinny Danfus by no means, but I was playing with him, and we were always me and him all the time. And Vinny's 6'2", 6'3", and 5'5", and but the numbers were still there. So I mean, it's great that hockey's changed. Honestly, I'm so glad that it changed to give the opportunities for shorter guys to make it. Because hockey is a game of talent, it's a game of speed, and it's always has been, and it's great now that it's like that. But yeah, you need somebody who's gonna give you that chance, So
yeah. Where'd you play with Vinny?
absolutely, I played against Vinny all the time, and then we played all-star teams together on the same team when it started to have that Quebec and Ontario all-star teams playing once against the other.
Oh, is that like
But we were always rivals.
In
Yeah,
junior
Quebec
days?
Junior League against Ontario Hockey League. Yeah, we had that started that first season of trying to see all the teams, the leagues playing against the other leagues in the All Star.
Right.
So yeah, but Vinny and I were always playing against each other. It was always close with points. Who's going to be one? Who's going to be two? And stuff like that. So yeah, but he's a good guy. I mean, he's a friend of mine and he's a good person.
Yeah. So how did you get your chance with Shawinigan? Like you talked about opportunity. I mean, even to play in major junior hockey, what was a massive accomplishment. I'm sure that a lot of people, wouldn't have given you that chance or that opportunity. So how did that ever happen?
So a funny story. I played the 2 years midget AAA. We were two guys making it the first year midget AAA, and then the second year. We changed. Everybody changed GMs, coaches, and stuff like that. And our GM, his name is Raymond Demers, so I owe him a lot. God rest his soul, bless his soul. He's left us, but he's our GM, and he's the head scout of the Shawinigan Cataracts. So he comes in and during the season he starts talking to me and this and that. And he goes, "Where would you like to be drafted? What round?" I said, "Well, obviously every players go first three. Obviously, first round I'd love to be. I'm second league scorer in the league. I think I can play, but I said first 3 rounds would be great." Yeah, he goes, "No, you're not going to be drafted in the first 3 rounds. You're going to be drafted in the fourth round." And I was like, and then he laughed, and I was like, "That's weird. No, I'm not. I'm going to be drafted in the first 3 rounds." A cocky little guy said, "You want to, obviously." So So finally, we meet the coach from the Cataracts. We have a dinner with me and my best friend. And we go and we meet him, the GM, and Ron Lapointe. Unfortunately, he left us too. And we have a dinner, and Ron Lapointe is like, "Hey, did Remo tell you where you're gonna be drafted?" That's what his first says. I said, "Well, he said fourth round," and he just left it like that. So I'm like, okay. So draft day comes, first round, second round, third round, nothing. Fourth round, second draft, showing against selects Patrice Lefebvre. I'm like, what the hell just happened there? So when I went to the table, him and Ron Lapointe were laughing, and he goes, "I have to tell you, every team in the league pretty much called us, and we said, no, you're not going to play that. You were too scared to play junior. You're going to play in the States. So nobody's taking you." So that was a big story. So, but yeah, Remo Damas and Ron Lapointe, they believed in me. They saw me. And Ron Lapointe came from Verdun as well, which is a neighborhood right beside. Tough neighborhood there too. And I think he knew from where I came from, and he saw me play, and he's the one that I owe my career to Ron Lapointe. Absolutely. More the mess as well for choosing me and taking me, but Ron Lapointe, he's a man that really, he's probably the biggest believer of me, 100%.
Did you have him the whole time in Shawinigan?
No, unfortunately, I had like 1 year, and then we lost in the Memorial Cup finals, and then he went to Washington to be a assistant coach with Brian Murray and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's the one that first got me my first pro camp with Washington as an invited player. So in 1986, and so he's believed in me all the time. He got me my contract with Vancouver after that, and I mean a lot of things happened because of him. So I mean I owe him pretty much my career as well to him, 100%.
Well, like you said, though, I mean, the thing is, yeah, you do need to have a believer, someone that's going to believe in you. But you had to have won him over for some way as well, and that's the thing where, I think that we discount that, as far as how we show up, how we go about our business, our professionalism, like what we're really prepared to do for this dream called hockey, right? Like sometimes it's easy, and I was one of those guys. Like I for whatever reason, like I wanted everything to be about what I did on the ice. You know what I mean? And if I worked my ass off the ice, but I never did it like in the locker room, or I never came early to the rink. Like I was almost like the opposite, like trying to, I don't know, like it was weird. My head was just different, right? Like I said, I worked hard, but I wasn't really worried about what everyone thought, right? Or how I was perceived, but God, that matters. Like that matters so much. Like you said, that one coach, and that's what I talk to my guys about now. I'm like, you don't want to be inauthentic, and you don't want to be a suck up, and you don't want to be any of those things. No. But what you need is a fan. You need a fan, right? You need someone who likes you, right? And you need, and what do coaches like? They like guys that care about their teammates. They like guys that work their asses off. They like guys that are committed to getting better, right? You know what I mean? Like you check those boxes, and you're going to have a fan. Like I promise you. Like it's like. So you obviously impressed him, I guess, is all I'm saying. And then once you got your foot in the door, like, holy shit, man. Like, obviously they knew what the hell was going on, and everyone else was rattled they never had you. Like, you led the league in points your last year. You were second, your third year there. Obviously an incredible career, 200 points in a season. That's pretty special. Talk about your time in Shawinigan.
Yeah, again, like I said, my first year with Ron Lapointe, Sergio Momesso was there. Dave Casper was our captain. What an example! That guy was an unreal example. Like I was lucky enough to live with him on the billets, and that guy, he was a dirty player. Did everything for the team. Like, but he was what a leader. He's the guy that helped me a lot too in my first year. What a year we had! My first year, we started like 2-10 our first year, and we had curfews every night. And then Ron Lapointe came in and before a practice, and he said, "You guys are not going to practice. Just there's some beers there in the middle. You guys have beers. You do whatever you want. You make sure nights before games there's curfew. I don't care." And then we started winning, and we let like 15, 17 straight. We ended up winning the championship in that year. And then the first team winning the championship had the host of a Memorial Cup. So it was a fun year. We went Memorial Cup finally to win again, but because of our old rinks, the TV was not right for television. So we moved to another team with Drummondville, another Dreams rink, and we lost to the finals to Prince Albert. But I really believe that if we would have played in Shawinigan, I think we could have. Well, who knows? But our chances would have been there for sure, playing our own rink in front of our fans and stuff. So, but great years, great year. Ray's first year to start, and then played with a guy named Stefan Wood that won the Stanley Cup Montreal '96 in '93. Sorry, made some great friends. The guy like Denny Paul, Robert Page. I mean, so many good people there too that helped me. You know, you don't do all those points by yourself. So I was fortunate to play with some very good people as well.
Did you play with? Were you guys on the same line, you and LeBeau?
My second year, me, LeBeau, and Dennis Paul. We were unbelievable. But the biggest thing with me and Stefan LeBeau is our power play. We played on the power play together. My third and fourth year, not really. We didn't play the same line, but our power play, like just example, last year, like my 200-point season, he scored 45 on the power play, and he scored 90 goals, 92 goals or something. So our power play was just lethal.
That's fantastic. I know you love to pass the puck too. Like, love to pass the puck.
Yeah.
I mean, you still had 64 goals yourself that last year. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast today. We're going to take a short break just to remind you that there are ways that you can follow me. I know some of you are very faithful listeners of the podcast. I thank you for that. I have been posting the podcast now, the recorded version, the video version on YouTube. So if there are any YouTubers out there that are listening to the audio version of this, by all means, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I am trying to get more content on the YouTube channel and promote that and grow that channel. I really have no idea how, other than just to produce content and to ask in a format like this. So please, if you want to support me and support Up My Hockey, get on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram at Jason Podolin. It's more of a kind of a personal feed there with definitely some hockey content. And there's also my Facebook group, which is the parent group called Up My Hockey. It's a private parent group on Facebook. Lots of good stuff in there, lots of great support and lots of great people. You're first to know about my programs in there. You're first to get access to the master classes and things of that nature. So all great ways to follow me. If you want to know about the programs, when they're coming, how you can work on your mindset, how you can work with me directly, how you can work with me on the ice in some skill development stuff, get to upmyhockey.com, UPMY hockey.com, and look under the services tab. You'll see when all the peak potential guided missions start. You can also see how to get your team involved in a peak potential project and work on your team chemistry and team building and get you all on the same page when it comes to resiliency and mental toughness and striving and being able to reach for your potential. So those are all great ways to follow what I'm doing and be a part of the action. And if you want to step forward and actually work on the most important thing that'll give you the biggest competitive advantage, and that's your mindset, that's where to find me. Okay, now back to the conversation with Patrice Lefebvre. But you also had 142 PIMs. I mean, what were you? I mean, you played edgy, but were you playing really edgy back in those days?
Yeah. You know, it was the style in the '80s. You had to. I mean, I had my 7, 8, 10 fights a year, and you know, I got some I gave back, and you know, vice versa. So you know, people trying to intimidate me, but you know, you want to give me one, I'll give you two, and you know, that's how it was. So I had to, and I hated the fact that that's one of the biggest thing. And I know it was the game those days, but I hated the fact that we'll get Toto to protect you, and I hated that. I mean, I always wanted to fight my own fights, and you know, I understand that the bigger guys, that the guys at their roles had to do that between them, but I never really. I always wanted to fight my own fights, even if I lose. I don't care, as long as I show up, and then you know, people will know that I'm not gonna back down. So win or lose. So that was a big thing for me. So I always had that short man syndrome on the ice most of the time with that. So absolutely.
Well, I mean, call it what you will. I mean, if you were 6'2", it wouldn't be called short man syndrome. It would just be called you were gritty, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you definitely played that way, and you were smart enough to recognize that you had to, though, too, right? I mean, that's the other thing,
Yeah, yeah,
or else you're going to get taken advantage of, and you're not going to stick around. So, I mean,
yeah.
that was good on you to do that. What So what about the NHL draft? I mean, did you ever talk to teams? Were you hoping? I mean, you obviously had some big seasons there.
Yeah.
Your draft year was what? Was that your rookie year? Your draft year?
85.
Your first draft year?
Yeah, 85 was my draft year, and uh, Ron Lapointe told me during the Admiral Cup tournament that I opened some eyes because I had a great M Cup tournament. I was chosen on the R 13 in the tournament and as a right winger. So yeah, the guy like Cole View was there. A guy named Dame was first rounders, I think, from Boston. Colton, obviously, the career he had in the NHL, and little me, and I made it to the All Star team. So around the point said, there might be a chance. So you always hope for it, and then that happened. So yeah, so I was fortunate again. Around the point got me to talk with Brian Murray in 1986 in Montreal, the old forum after the draft, and got that invitation there. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah, because you were
yeah,
eligible for 2 years. I mean, your second year there, you had 136 points in 69
yeah,
games.
yeah,
That was pretty impressive too. But again, just you weren't you. Well, I guess the only thing is you weren't big enough, right? I mean, for
exactly.
that draft, that must have been it, right? Because you were
Yeah,
obviously
that's it.
smart enough
Well,
and you're gritty enough, but you didn't get the chance.
that was always the excuse. You're too small, too small.
Right.
So yeah.
So after a 200-point season in Shawinigan,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously you must be feeling pretty good about yours. 29 points in 11 games in the playoffs. You end up going to Paris. The hockey DB says, like, so where were you at? Like, what did you want to do? Was that your first choice? I assume you wanted to stay in
No,
North America, but you weren't given a
yeah.
chance. Or what happened after that?
So so Ron Lapointe, again calls me. He goes, "Hey, listen, I got you in the Team Canada." Dave King was the coach. Guy Charon was the assistant coach. So we went to Calgary at the camp in the beginning to make so that those days Team Canada was a traveling team. They played 60, 70 games in Russia, whatever, all over the place. And so I went. Chris Draper was there. Brad Schlegel, defenseman, was there. Anyways, so that tournament, and I finished first in scoring in that tournament. So that camp. So played, I think, 1 or 2 game a day or something like that. My memory's losing me here, but anyways, we're there for like 8, 9 days, and so we do that tournament, and trying like a camp to get to make the team. So finish first in scoring, and then last day, Guy Charon comes to me and he goes, "Yeah, Dave thinks you're too small to play against the Russians, so we're not gonna keep you." So it's pretty late. It's August late. So I'm having the old IHL before the Las Vegas IHL I played with was the older one, and they offered me like 2 teams offered me like 16,000 in US to play and go there. And that league was a bit of a tough league. Don't want to call it a gold league, but that's the word we used to use those days. And then I have my agent calls me. He goes, "There's a team in France, Paris. They want to offer you a contract." So okay. He goes, "Yeah, this is the amount and this and that." I said, so there were some Canadian guys there with passports. I said, "All right." So went there, had my first experience in Europe, and ended up winning the championship after 54 years of existence that day there. So that was, yeah, it was a tough year in the beginning to get adjusted with everything. I was single guy there by myself, and everything was different. But winning made it easier at the end, and then I met some good people there. And then after that, I got an offer to go play in Switzerland from there. So everything swirled about. I went to play with Switzerland after that in the A League. Had a worst team in the league, but personally had a pretty good season with nobody to play with. And then who called me again after the season? Around the point. got me a contract to hear a deal in Vancouver. So yeah, so everything started again from there. But yeah, that Paris came out of nowhere just because of Team Canada. My goal was to play for Team Canada 100%.
Right. Oh, that must have been frustrating, hey? Because I was actually thinking, like, what a great, you know, what a great foot in the door. I mean, you would think that that would be the exact type of hockey that would be awesome, right? International hockey, that
Yeah.
isn't quite as well. Again, not that you couldn't handle the physicality, but you would think like that genre of hockey would be more apt to give you an opportunity, right?
Yeah. But then, if you figure that Mario Lemieux could not play for Team Canada because of defensive game, so I I'm not gonna be too mad then.
Did he get cut from Team Canada?
He didn't even get invited. I think, yeah, one time no Mario Lemieux.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, that's frustrating. That's when you feel, that good for you for keep going though, right? Like that's when some guys just pack it in, right? And they're like, oh, it's I'm a victim. It's not working out for me. Poor me. And you can
Yeah.
go down that rabbit hole pretty easy, right? Because
Mhm. Oh yeah.
because shit. You mean you led the thing in points. I mean, what else are you supposed to do, right? You're obviously
Yeah.
productive. You could do this, and it's easy to pack your bags and go home. But I mean, you kept going. Like I said, you won a championship, and your supporter brings you back over. And when is that the 90-91 season then when you played for the AHL, IHL, and ECHL?
Yeah.
And you had
So
the Vancouver contract?
that was a tough. I mean, I was going through things too personally. So probably my worst hockey came from 89, 90, 91. That was my worst hockey that I ever played because I uh, was worse things outside of hockey that was going on. So, met this girl and fell in love and thought about just her instead of thinking about hockey and being career driven like I was before. So that kind of got out of my not my safety zone, but my comfort zone in hockey, and I was not myself when I played. So I was moving around trying to make happy everybody else. You know what I mean? So and it's on me. It's my but it's learning experience. But yeah, that was a tough almost 2 years of not playing myself. Like I was not myself at all. I looked at me playing, and even when I played in Milwaukee that year, I was not even half the player. I was in camp, and I was in camp in Vancouver. I had an unbelievable camp. Like I ended up playing with Igor Larionov and Brian Adams there on that line. I was the only rookie guy that did that, and I had terrific exhibitions, and then my girlfriend came and back to Milwaukee with me, and I just know my head was not in hockey. My head was somewhere else, and it showed. And a 5 foot guy, you need to be 100% all the time, like I was, and I was not there. And I was not happy, and I was trying to make the other person happy. So yeah, that was a bit. Those 2 years probably were the worst 2 years of hockey that I had statistically, and not being myself on the ice as well. So
Right.
absolutely.
Did you
So that's
have?
why.
Go ahead.
No, that's why I moved around. I moved around. Yeah, I got that chance to go to Europe again, and a guy named Ken Tyler, that was a Yale University coach, brought me and another guy named Guy Rouleau there. And when we got there, 2 days after, not 3 days after, he got fired. So the two guys that were there already, they were, fan favorites, and they were there for a long time. So when we got there, they kind of got pushed over. So they changed the coach, and we came to a practice. It was a German coach there from Switzerland. As soon as we came in the rink, and he just looked at us and he says, "You guys are not coming on the ice ever since I'm here." So I'm like, okay. So we got our contracts bought out. Spent the holidays in Montreal, and then my agent said, "Hey, there's a team in the East Coast League that wants to bring you." So I'm like, God, East Coast. Well, what I gotta do? I'm here. I gotta play hockey. So and I went to Louisville, Kentucky, and then actually had a good run there, good hand of the scene, like I say. But yeah, so that's how I got that one game in AHL. But the team was there, so Jimmy Roberts got me in, but he didn't really play me anyway. So
Right.
it was more of a favor, I think, that I got called up there. But Yeah.
So you were all over the place. I mean, I know that
Yeah.
that's the one thing.
Yeah.
Like when I'm talking to, pro hockey's tough. Right? I mean,
Yes.
regardless, and I don't care if it's the NHL, AHL, or East Coast League. I mean, there's a different level of commitment and stuff that you have to deal with. Let alone like the moving. Like that.
Yeah.
I've said that story a few times. Like my first year pro, so 20 years old, like first time really living on your own, right? Like
Yeah.
apartments and bills and figuring out everything. I played on 4 teams, right? Like I was in the minors with Greensboro, I was up with Florida, got traded to Toronto, and then got sent down to St. John's. Like that's 4 different sets of coaches, 4 different sets of teammates, 4 different cities,
Yeah.
21 years old, trying to figure out how to be a pro on the ice, trying to figure out how to live. Everything else, like, and that's the stuff that, we talked about a little bit before, is like no one talks about that stuff.
No. And people don't realize how hard it is.
Yeah.
You're just playing hockey. No. It's not. That's not the hardest part. I mean, just playing hockey. Well,
yeah, it's a game.
You get into almost 4 time frame zone, and
yeah, exactly. And the other thing is like if you were to talk to, whoever, your local electrician, right, and just tell them that, hey, the phone could ring tomorrow and you're going to be playing hockey. You're going to be an electrician in St. John's, Newfoundland, right? Like, because that's essentially what happened 3 times. Like, it's like that whole mindset scenario is tough. So, I mean, you're bouncing around. You're trying to be a hockey player. You got your girlfriend on the mind. You're not playing the way you want to be able to play. It's tough. And you had an NHL deal though, right? Is that accurate? Like Vancouver, it was an NHL contract.
Yeah, I had a 2-year deal with Vancouver, and then the farm team was in Milwaukee, and I just got bought out of my remaining year and the rest of the year. Yeah.
So when you got into Vegas, then was that an IHL deal?
IHL, yeah, IHL deal, absolutely.
So when did you get your next NHL deal?
Right before I met you, I got signed in Washington in 1998. Yeah, December 1998.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So looking back on that, I mean, you've already been very candid and honest about it, but like that NHL deal was a big opportunity. Hey, like to have that.
It was, but it was. Don't get me wrong, it was. But the thing is that the year before, I had an unbelievable year. Like I think we had about 80 players in Vegas coming through. Like I didn't know I was playing with from one game to the other, and I led the league in scoring. I had the MVP of the league that year. And then what happened is during this summer, I had asked the management, because I had 2 more years in Vegas. I had some big offers in Switzerland. I said, hey, is it okay if I get out of my contract? And that created a kind of a cold a bit, I guess, So Imagine was not happy, and there was some things said from management in the papers in the summer, and that kind of broke pretty much the 5 years that I worked hard of playing, being in the making a name for myself, being in the community, representing big brothers, big sisters, being involved with Make-A-Wish Foundation. That kind of broke everything, my spirit and everything. So I started my 6th year in Vegas. They changed everything, and it was a tough start, to be honest with you. And then I don't remember what game out, but I got my first injury of my life. I tore my MCL, and I was out for about 2.5 months. So when I came back, I was not in shape, playing with that big Dow Jones knee brace that they had in those old days, and I mean my head was not in it anymore. Like, it was different. I didn't have that drive that it was weird. Then our GM, which I owe him a lot, Bob Strom, he's the one that gave me a chance in Vegas, and I'm always going to be grateful to him. Washington came to practice in Vegas for a few days, and he had George McPhee come to practice, and they needed some players, and I got signed. So, yeah, it was a big opportunity. Again, timing was not good. If I would have probably come that year before, when I was on my game, and I'm just saying if, but probably would have been different turnout. But yeah, so I went in and had probably 7, 6, 7, 8 minutes maybe of time, and the power play time my first game, and then after that was fourth line and play your games, and then that's it. So I had Ron Wilson as a coach. So yeah, that was it. That was it. That was those 3 games. But I'm still grateful that I had those games to play in the NHL. But the timing was not. I wish it was a different time.
Yeah.
You don't decide that, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, man. Like Vegas, like so with Vegas, how did that how did Vegas happen? Where the heck is the
Yeah.
Billingham Bombers? Like, how did you end up there? And like that you
Yeah.
came from Billingham to Vegas.
Exactly. So here's the story from the continuous from the girlfriend. So finally, because we were always together, and she was coming with me everywhere, and then short story, I get my first house built in the suburb of Montreal with her, and then during that last year, I went to Cloton and Sierra, what you see on the sheet there, and then she stayed back home to watch the works of the house. Then I come back, and then 2 months later, not even 1 month living in the house, she breaks up with me on the phone. Yeah. So talk about experience. So my heart was broken, this and that. I'm like, I'm gonna stop playing hockey now. My life is over. You know it is. And then my best friend, now my best friend calls me, a guy I knew from minor hockey, major AAA, calls me, and we have the same agent. He goes, "Hey, come play with me in England. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna dominate. We'll be together." And I said, all right, I'll go. And it was probably the best move of my life. I regained the joy to play. I had fun with him. I met some great people. Him and his wife are my best friends now. He was my best man at my wedding, and I had so much fun there playing hockey again, just having fun playing hockey, that I was my old self again. So, and I was far away from my ex-girlfriend, so I didn't have to be close. So it was easier to forget, if I can say.
Yeah.
So everything kind of changed together, and then and then I have my agent call me, goes, "Yeah, Vegas wants to sign you because Bob Strom knew of me because of Ron Lapointe that he met before." And so it's kind of a circle. So Bob Strom gave me a chance, and we never looked back.
That's so wild that you mentioned. Well, first of all, for everyone listening, and I have the Hockey DB open up in front of me, but so in the English league there, Patty had 165 points in 36 games, which is absolutely bonkers. And I looked on the team, so it was your buddy, the LaPlante or whatever, and he had like 166 or something. So you guys definitely did dominate and had a good time. So, what I had a similar experience. Like when I it's funny how our careers kind of crossed, and I'm going to get to Bob Strom in a second, but I had a similar experience when I was done in Mannheim, because I played in Mannheim after you did. I was there, and I kind of lost. I got hurt. My shoulder was hurt. It never really felt like the same player after I came back, and had a different role. And I felt like I was kind of hanging on, like I felt like I was sort of hanging on. I was 29 years old, and I was like, you know what? This has been a good run, 10 years professional. I'm done. Right. Yeah. And went back to school. I shouldn't say went back, like for the first time, like went to university and thought that was going to be fun. And it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. But when I was at university and I thought that I was retired, all these kind of interesting places kept calling, offering me jobs. Right. And the one that was like super interesting to me was this team in the Japanese league. So I ended up going there after Christmas. I wrote my finals for the first semester, first term, whatever you call it. And then I hopped over there. It was like a 2-month gig. They're only allowed one import. They weren't happy with their import. And so they brought me in. And anyways, long story short, like I had fun playing again, like I was scoring goals. I was the guy. I felt good about my game. You know what I mean? It was just like refreshing. And I was like, you know what? I want want to give this another kick at the cat, and that's when I ended up going back to Detroit. I got to try out with Detroit with Ken Holland and Babcock were there. And anyways, I mean, I had a really good chance to make that team, to be perfectly honest. I ended up hurting myself in camp and it never worked out. And, there's an opportunity to go play in the AHL again, but I didn't fall in love with it that much that I wanted to go ride the bus again at 30 years old, right? I was like, no, I kind of wanted the NHL, but I totally recognize what you're saying there, right? You just go back. There's a different level of like intensity, right? Like it's still pro and it was fun, right? But it was, I don't know. I just really was able to let loose and just have a good time. And I kind of fell in love with the game again. But yeah, back to Bob Strum though, Patty. So Bob Strum was the GM of the Spokane Chiefs. Yeah. And he was the guy who listed me at 13 years old. Like he was the first guy that I got in contact with the Spokane Chiefs. And it was before the draft, right before the draft came into existence for the WHL. You used to be able to put somebody on their player list.
Yeah.
So list.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So at 13, you were able to do that. So on my 13th birthday, Bob Strum made this deal with the Moose Jaw Warriors because they were lower in the standings, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, so Strummer was one of my biggest fans for the first probably 2 years till he got let go. What a great guy he was. I mean, I didn't know him super well as a person, but boy, he was nothing but gold to me. So it's interesting we have him in our hockey history.
Yeah, he's been good to me too. He had his job. He had to deal with the owner and stuff like that. And it was not always easy, but in all fairness, he was very good. It was very good to me, and you know what? He's pretty good at finding talents. I mean, he's got that eye, and he knows a lot of people, knows a lot about the game, and I think he's made himself better as a person because in Vegas he went through personal things, and his own things, but he recognized that and he made himself better, and all the power to him. So yeah, I owe him a great deal, 100%.
Let's celebrate that though. So you go from the English league where kind of like nobody's really wanting you, like pro hockey, it's not really high up the ladder on the pro hockey list, get signed by the AHL, which was a hell of a league back in the day. I mean, that was really, for those of you who are listening who don't know, so there was the AHL and the IHL, and the AHL was considered a little bit more of a developmental league. Like most of the farm teams were in the AHL, was younger. And the IHL was older, generally skewed. A lot of guys would come back from the NHL and play there to kind of end their career. It was good hockey. I mean, that was really good hockey. And you showed up there and you were top 10 in points, and you're as a rookie, 98 points.
98 points. Yeah. First, Butch Goring was our coach. Butchie is the first. I hated Butchie the first 4 games because I got sat out, and then but after that, I had the chance and went back.
Just another short break here to cut from the action and say thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your reviews. Thank you for your shares and your subscribes. Really, really am grateful. I'm grateful to make a difference. I'm grateful to help. And every time someone reaches out, whether it be through Messenger or Instagram or a comment on a YouTube channel or a review on iTunes, it's just a reminder to me that I am helping and that I'm making a difference, and it brings a smile to my face, and it is rewarding. So thank you for taking the time to do that. It really does mean a lot, and it really is inspiring to me, and it keeps me moving forward. So once again, really appreciate that. And the other thing is it helps grow the platform. So it helps other people be able to get access to the information that is making such a big difference in a lot of players' lives. So thank you for that. And the players who have yet to hear this, because you haven't shared yet, will thank you when you do. So much appreciated. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a faithful listener, and we'll get back to the discussion with Patrice Lefebvre.
Yeah, Butch Goring was our coach there first year. So first 4 game, I got sat out, and healthy scratch. I went to Strummer. I said, Strummer, I didn't come here to. I was 26. I didn't come here to sit in the stands. You told me I was going to play. I want my chance. And he goes, you're gonna play. So I ended up playing the next game. Couple assists, played, and from there never sat back again. But after that, Butchie became probably one of my biggest fans as well. And we played with Radek Bonk, that 17-year-old Czech kid, player on our line. and a guy named Ken Quinney that I played with him for 5 years. I was my left winger all the time, but played with him in the up to in Frankfurt. But yeah, our line was well, so it was Radek Bonk, me, Ken Quinney, Todd Richards, that's coaching the NHL, and a guy named Jean-Marc Bouchard. And we were playing the five guys all the time together. I was like plus 52. Quinney was plus 51. Richards and Richard were plus 50. Bonk was like plus 48. And we just had an unreal year that year. That was unbelievable. But playing with Jim Kite, Clint Malarchuk, Lyndon Byers, Rod Buskis, Steve Goddess, Mark Vermette, Brent Ashton. Brent Ashton was there. I mean, oh yeah, it was unreal. Unreal. It was fun. We had a great year. We won the league. We should have won the championship that year. We lost on the quarterfinal round. And listen to this. So Jim Kite's our captain. That's a funny. Yes and no, but those days how it was in hockey. So we don't have any bonuses for playoffs. So we're all talking about that. Jim Kite goes right before the game starts, first game of the playoff, comes back and he goes, "Yeah, okay, now we have bonuses." Like right before starting the playoffs. I don't know if that played against us, but I mean, we should have won. We should have won, anyways. But it was unreal of a first year to make to have the fans involved, and organization was good too. First 3 years they treated us like professional, like NHL team, 100%. But
So
yeah,
what,
first year was unreal.
So what did Kite do? So he went negotiating with the GM, so he wanted to get the boys a bonus.
And they were in the hallway and just negotiating and back and forth, and finally goes, "Okay, guys, we're good. We can go." Yeah, that was unreal.
So
yeah.
So yeah, the Radek Bonk. I'm glad you brought that up. So so that was his draft year. I mean, he was the youngest player in the league by far, right? I mean, it was an older league, and yeah, 87 points in 76 games. Didn't he go like top 3 or something? Where did he go that year?
It was Ottawa. It went to Ottawa.
Yeah, but like high, right? Like what pick did he go?
First rounder. Yeah, first. Not sure if it's the first pick or not. I don't remember, but it was high pick for sure. Pick for sure.
So you were his line mate that whole year.
Well, we let's say, we helped him get a good draft and get a good contract. That's for sure.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty cool, man. Did you enjoy him as a person, Radek?
Yeah, well, he was a nice kid. He was a shy kid. The funny thing is, he was my roommate, so we were rooming together on the road, and once he went to Ottawa draft, never heard from him again, not once. So I was like, that's weird, but whatever, But yeah, so he was a nice kid, reserved kid. He didn't speak a lot of English. He used to take English course all the time in Vegas, and he got better as the season went. But it was a nice kid, nice reserve.
That's funny. I mean, he's 6'3", 220, and you're 5'4", whatever, 160, and you guys play together. 5'5", sorry, 5'5". That's right. That'd have been an awesome line to watch out there. That'd have been great. So yeah, but so again, you have to fight through some adversity there, right? Like a healthy scratch, and I mean whatever. Butchie's not seeing whatever he could see, but then you.
I understand it. Like I talked with him after. I mean, me and Butch were friends, and I mean, I was probably one of the best coach I had, not just for technical, but for the way he treat the guys. Was a player's coach, but he told me, he goes, I didn't know you, so I went with the horses that I knew. I understand that, and when I had the chance and I proved them, and I never went out after, But I mean, I understand. It's his first year. He wants to have success as well. I mean, I understand his point of view, and he understood mine, and but all at the end, it all came together, and after that, we had the guy Brad Lauer that was a coach in the Edmonton Oil Kings in the Miracle Cup this year, coaching the NHL a few times as assistant coach. And Brad ended up going to Ottawa that year as a free agent, and he was supposed to go to All-Star team and All-Star game. And then Butchie was the All-Star coach, and Butchie says, "Hey, I'm bringing you instead of him, and to replace him." So I mean, Bushy was really good to me after that too. So I mean, but yeah, it's funny how it started, but it ended up on a high note,
Yeah.
100%.
No, I mean, pretty essentially 500-point seasons in a row, really. You know, I mean, 98, 94, 114, 94, and 116.
Yeah.
Um, really solid numbers. Did you see, like you said, the first 3 years there that you know, that they treated you professionally and the fans were behind you? Like, did you see the potential for what's happening now with the Golden Knights? Like, did you think that could be possible?
Well, it was. I'll be lying if I'd say yes because it was the '90s. It was a bit different. I knew there was potential in the way that the city kept growing and growing and growing and growing. I mean, I if somebody would have told me you think it's possible, like I said, it is possible. I wouldn't have said yes for sure, but
Yeah.
possibility. But the way that the city's been growing, I mean, every year it was unbelievable. From the first year that I went, and I went in 2000 and I think in 18 because the Thunder got intronized in the Hall of Fame in Vegas, the Southern Nevada Hall of Fame, and I didn't even recognize the place. I mean, it's changed so much, so much has been added. So, but
Right.
I'm not surprised of the success, to be honest with you, especially when they have, when you have a winning product in Vegas, it's gonna be a yes for sure.
Right. Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, I mean, so back to us, and when we go there, and you probably don't remember this either, or even would have known about it because these websites and stuff didn't exist. But when I
Yeah,
left the AHL that year, I had 42 goals when I got traded, and I was leading the AHL in goals. And so I'd never scored 50 as a pro before. So when I got to the I needed 8, right, to get 50 in a
yeah,
season. And anyways, we got 5 together. I think you probably assisted on every one of them. I got a hat trick. I remember in Houston, I think was one of the games, and so I
yeah.
got 5 goals and in 8 games there to end up with 47 on the season. So, anyways, we were darn close. It would have been awesome if you would have got a couple more in the back of the net. And it was more on me, I remember, than you. I even remember like not kind of being a little bit snake bitten there a couple times, but. It was fun, man. Like I really enjoyed playing with you, and I'm sure. I mean, that must have been. I mean, you played with a heck of a lot of great players. I won't even put myself in that category, but I mean, a shooter with
Yeah,
you, which I was, is
yeah,
that's a match made in heaven, right? Like you love to
yeah.
pass, and you just
Oh,
wanted a
yeah.
guy that could put in the back of the net.
Yeah, and you know what? And I feel bad because when I played in Long Beach with you, I was not half the players that I was, So I felt bad. I even told Boxy at the end of the season, I said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I was not myself, and it's the truth. I wish I would have done more, better, but that was just that kind of a season.
Right.
I was it's funny. One player I played against, Loney Loach. I don't know if you remember.
Lonnie Loach, yeah, Lonnie Loach.
Lochi said something to me that year, and I'll never forget. And he told me after a game, he goes, "Pat, how come you don't play with the same passion as you used to?
Oh wow.
You used to be unbelievable to watch." I was like, and so it just showed that I didn't have that same. It was that year was different. So if I knew it and that my opponent sees that and says that to me, I mean, it was true. So I feel bad because I wish I would have done more for you to get you that 52. I'm sure if I would have been the player I was the year before that, I would have got you 50, maybe 60 for sure. But I'm not. I'm pretty sure of that. But unfortunately, you had me when bad, good, bad. How do you say that in English? Bad goods or good bads or something like that. You get the good bads. Is
Oh,
that something? Is that
no, I don't
something?
know. The good with the bad with the good.
No, that I, I, I I'm gonna sound conceited here. I was a good player, but I was not in my good moments. I don't know
Oh,
if you
I
say
get
that.
what you mean. Yeah. So the I got the
So
bad patty, not the good patty.
yeah, you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah,
Hey, so
I wish I had a good pad.
with that passion though, like that word, right? Because that is like there's another intangible that I've talked about
Mhm.
before, right? Like that is I believe it's a controllable, right? Like it's something
Mhm.
that you know when you love the game. I don't say you, I mean like when I say you, I mean players in general.
General,
Like
yeah.
when we love the game, that comes out. Like there's a passion there, right? That you're willing to do a little bit more, right? There's a little
Mhm.
extra fire. There's a little, there's just a little extra in the tank, right? That makes the difference in these battles, right? And the scoring the goal, doing what it takes. Now, during the course of an 82 game season, or these kids that are playing junior now, 60, 72, like there's times where that needs to be manufactured. I think, right? Like,
you have to be a cheerleader.
Yeah. Do you agree with that?
I agree. Sometimes we were more a cheerleader than anything else on the bench because there was no life. There was no, everybody was amorph. I don't know if it's a word, but everybody, and it's understandable, I think. But yeah, sometimes we were not coaching, we were doing cheerleading, so less correcting, more cheerleading, good job, Otto, keep going, great shift, keep moving your leg, you were great, good skating there. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. So 100%, I agree, 100% with you, 100%.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, so as an athlete, and that's one of the things that when I'm talking with players now is like that personal, I call it your personal operating manual. Like once you become a pro, like there's ways that Patty, there's things that you had to do before a game or during a game that made you be you, right? Like that brought out that best in you. And when I encourage the guys I work with, like, to be really, really digging in on the self-awareness side about what those things are, because it's not okay. It's tough to be consistent for 80 games or 72 games or 60 games, right? I mean, it's hard, right? And so if you can minimize those downtimes. Go ahead.
No, it's true. Like with traveling and everything like that nowadays, it's 100%.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and yeah, so like finding those little ways, like to bring that passion every night, right? To manufacture it, because that's one thing I say, like it's easy to go work out or go for a run or play a great game when you're motivated and feeling great, right? I mean, that's easy. Like, but so what happens the games where you don't, or the days where you wake up and you don't feel like doing it, or like those are the days that I think really separates guys, because the off nights, and I know when I brought this up talking about your career, right? I mean, there are transition points where that just happens. I'm talking more now in general, like how to be a pro, right? Like how to be a pro. And you said that you had that there for like 4 or 5 years in a row, right? Like what was it like when you were just rolling like that?
Well, you just know. I mean, no kidding. I've loved the game. I still love it to this day. I mean, I played till I was 42 years old. So I mean, I love the game. I eat the game. And when I played and I was in my prime, and I couldn't wait for the next game, for the next practice, and I couldn't wait. I kid you not, that the night before the game, I knew I was playing. I had a pregame skate in the morning. I had butterflies in my stomach, and I'm not kidding. I don't know how to explain that. I knew I had my routine. I knew what I was doing, what I was going to eat, and we're talking 1990s, and there was no nutrition plans or stuff like that still, but I knew what was good for me and how I felt, and my preparation was, and I'm telling you, I had butterflies going to bed. I couldn't wait. I was there, the first guy in the practice, first guy at rink all the time. I mean, I couldn't wait to be at the rink and play and just go out there and just. I couldn't wait for that, so yeah, there were some nights that was difficult, but that's when you have to dig deep and know why you're there, what you're going to do. It's going to be harder sometimes, but you're still there for a purpose. Yeah. The purpose doesn't change. Sometimes, it's harder some days, but the goal is the same. The purpose is the same. That's what your mind has to be thinking about.
What was one of the things when I'm talking to players now, because everyone's so worried about points. The vast majority of players, right? Like, haven't figured out that there's other things that they can do to be, to get noticed, to earn spots, the roles that can be played, and there are things you can be good at. So, these guys that want scholarships, let's say, or these guys that want to get drafted, the players that I'm working with mostly are amateur players, and they want the points, right? And so their head gets so wrapped up in the points and the production that they forget what the hell they got to do to get the points in the first place, Yeah. And I don't know how you thought about that, because you were always a guy that produced, but like what the question I ask the guys that I'm working with a lot of times is like, when you're playing well, like what are you doing? Right? Like, did you have the puck a lot? Were you first in the corner? Did you
Yeah.
was there things that you focused on to allow you the opportunities to get the
Yeah.
point?
Well, for me, my biggest thing was to have the puck. I needed to control the puck. Like you said, I'm a passer. So, I was trying to attract a couple guys on me and then get my teammates to get free and pass the puck. Even when you don't know the puck, you don't expect the puck to come in your stick is what's going to come. And, for me, it was the compete level, moving my feet, having the puck on my stick, controlling the game, deciding where the puck was going to go. That was my element. So that was my game. I had the vision. I could find you wherever you were on the ice without a problem. So I knew when I that in the warm up, in the morning skate, when I was passing the puck on the stick, going hard or not, I knew what kind of game I was gonna have. That's excuse me. That's how I know how things were gonna go. And for me to have a success was for me to control the puck.
Right. So
That's my
awesome. Yeah.
game.
So you need the puck. One thing I say to the guys. See, but then I break it down one step further. And so, what did you have to do to get the puck? Like, what were the things that you had to do well in order to have that puck in the first place?
Well, first on puck, win the battles. Always, you're talking about. I was a winger. I was a right winger, so corners, picking pucks in your zone. And I don't even know how many pucks I've lost. When there was a rim coming on my side. I've I'm 22 years pro plus all the years I've played. I don't even know if I know it's gonna be if I lost 20 pucks like that. But that's a skill that I worked on in getting that puck because those days that straight pass, first pass didn't really exist or rim the puck on the glass or whatever. So I managed to get pucks, and for me, everything started from my own zone. From there, and then taking that puck in the neutral zone and going to that. But yeah, being first on puck and coming out with that puck out the corners, that was I had to do that.
Yeah. For those of you who want to work on your mindset, to actually train a skill that will help you more than anything else you could dedicate time or money to, which is a competitive advantage in this day and age, which is personal development, right? What's between your ears? How can you make the most out of the skill set that you have? How can you show up with intention, with purpose, with consistency, to be the leader amongst your group that you want to be, to help give you the best chance to move forward? I have the program for you. It's called the Peak Potential Hockey Project. It's a 4-week online program. It can be consumed on your own. It can be consumed with me, called the Guided Mission, where you get 4 coaching calls with me, or it can be taken as a mentored mission where you work with me one-on-one. All of the details are on my website, upmyhockey.com, under services. Teams can also work with me directly. That's at all levels, whether it be junior, pro, all the way down to amateur, minor hockey academies. I've worked with them all. All you need to have is keen players that want to get better and that you want to create a culture of high performance. So yeah, there's lots of ways to take the program, lots of testimonials on there. It's making a massive difference for a lot of players, and I couldn't be prouder of what I've produced and how I'm helping athletes. So check it out, upmyhockey.com, for the latest Up My Hockey Peak Performance mission. The next guided mission starts on August 1st. Actually, that's a lie. If you're listening to this, it actually starts tomorrow, if this is release day, July 11th. So you can get in touch with me if you want to get a part of that program, or if you want to get a part of the August 1st program, which is going to just dial you right in for an amazing season, this upcoming 22-23 season. Then get in the August 1st program. That can be, once again, enroll on my website at upmyhockey.com. Cheers. Now back to the episode with Patrice Lefebvre. Man, I love for the young players listening right now, or even the parents, like I love that you just even broke that down, that like the offense for you started in your own end, right? Like that's just like, and that's again, like that's the understanding of the game on a deeper level. And when players are curious about like how they get production, like that's one of the things, even these guys that I'm working with at the junior A level, right? Like they're not connecting that dot, right? Like how well I do in my own end and how we break out with, with speed or with control allows me to get points, off the rush or whatever. So, Yeah, anyways, that's awesome that you're saying that. And I think that when players focus on that, right? Like on that battle level, the compete level, on understanding that when I get the puck, like I need to slow this thing down because
Yeah.
this is what I want, right? I'm not trying to get rid of it now. Like my whole shift has been around trying to get this puck. Now I got to do something with it, right? Like when that's the focus, it gets off of like, the scoring the goals or doing, like that type of thing. Like the rest will take care of itself. I mean,
Exactly.
you are a good hockey player, right? And that's going to take care of itself on its own. Is you got to take care of the details prior to getting it, right?
You just said it. You just said it so good. Once you have that puck on your stick, that's the easiest part. It's what's you have to do to get that puck. It's reality. And when you have that puck on your stick, it's maybe what 2-3 seconds max you have usually. But when you have that, what's what you're gonna able to do with that? But the thing is, if you focus on just getting points, you're focusing on the wrong things. I mean, I've never. Of course, I wanted points because I had no choice. I had to produce. I had to be something. I had to do more than the other guys, and that was part of my game, and it's fine. But I never focused. Oh, tonight I'm gonna have 2 goals or 3 goals, or because if you focus that, it's not gonna happen. Because like you said, you're just putting your focus on something instead of not, and then you're forgetting the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be, my biggest focus for me was move your feet, win your battles, get that puck, and then things are gonna happen. And once the puck was on my stick, then it was the easiest thing. I
Right.
knew what I knew what was gonna happen. I always knew it was gonna happen before I got the puck on my stick. But that's getting that puck, like I said, getting those battles, getting that corner, making that quick move, whatever, quick give and goes and stuff to get that puck back. Little details that made it that I was able to get the points after that.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, I mean that's great. I think it makes it simpler too for players, right? When you have a couple key cues, right? Like move your
Yeah.
feet. I mean, for you, win the battles. Like you're not thinking about the bazillion other things that you can be thinking about, out
No,
there.
no,
It
impossible.
makes it a little bit simpler. It allows you just to go and do what you do. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I was with the whole being a playmaker thing. I want to ask you a question about that because I don't
Yeah,
think I've asked that question before. Because I mean, I was the other side of it, right? I was the guy that was on the end of the pass, and for me, I only really had myself to blame if I didn't beat the goalie or if I hit the post or
yeah,
whatever, right? Like, um, you have another level of accountability to the guy you're playing with because you can make a great play, and if that guy doesn't put it in the net, right, it's like shit.
yeah.
Like you can kind of be a little bit of a finger pointer. Like, how was that? Because like I said, you can deliver the puck real well lots of times, and if somebody's not
Yeah.
having their game, that means you're not having a good game production wise. How did you deal with that?
Well, it's part of it, But it's funny story you say that because I was brought in the organization. It's called the Villemard Hurricanes. It's the same organization with Mario Lemieux. Grew up, so I always followed Mario. Mario's always 2 years, so I always played after Mario every 2 years. So I was fortunate enough to play with him one year because they brought me up a category, but I was like 10 years old, I think maybe 9 or 10. But so I always followed Mario. Anyways, we always played ball hockey outside in the school and stuff like that. And and the coaches we had there were unbelievable. That organization for minor hockey in the '70s, early '80s was unbelievable. It was a family that owned burger joint. It was called the Dilalos family. They paid for the sticks. They paid for our jackets. They had all our sticks colored in yellow with our name on it. I mean, it was unbelievable. They had us in the basement giving us hamburgers and stuff. And our coaches there were people that had normal job, but they were so passionate. And the one thing they taught us was to pass the puck. So every time I hear the whistle from the bench and I didn't know what was coming, I had to drop the puck. No, not even looking. So I had to make a move, drop the puck, leave the puck, open net to the other guy, and that's how I learned to play. So I learned how to play passing the puck and giving pucks to my teammates, and fortunately we were walking back in passes, back in saucer, but at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, even a little earlier. So that's a part of game that I got better and better, and I like doing that. So I always felt more um, uh, complete when I made a great move, dig two guys, dig the goalie, gave you the puck, open net. I mean that for me, for me it was, that's what was all about for me. So
Right.
I was never for the goal. I was always for the pass. So yeah, but that's because of growing up in that organization, learning to pass the puck like that and be unselfish, if I can say, use my teammates in another way. That's how I got to be that playmaker type of guy.
Right. So can you explain that a little bit more? The scrimmage. You're saying you'd have the puck in a scrimmage, and then your coach
No, no,
uh, in a game.
in a game, in a game. We would go on a breakaway once against the goalie, and if we heard the whistle, we had to drop the puck. So I had to make a move, dig the goalie, and drop the puck in the game.
So you had to find some. You had to find somebody. Like you don't mean like you didn't have to make a drop pass every time. You just had to find somebody to pass to. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
because if it was just say it's me and you going, so I'm ahead of you with the puck,
Yeah.
so there's nobody coming back, so I'm going to score, right? You're maybe 3-4 feet behind,
Yeah.
so obviously I'm going to go and score. So I make a move, and then the coach whistles. I have to drop the puck. So the key was to drop the puck right in the middle of the net. You have to drop the puck towards the middle, not throw it hard. Just drop it. So I knew that you're going to get there and get that open net. That's all it was, all the time. But all the time. But so
Yeah.
if I had 4 breakaways in a game, for sure once he was going to do it. So you have to be aware. You have to be aware. So you could not think too much. What am I going to do? Because you have to go with the puck with the goalie. I might have to be ready to dig the goalie, but I have to be ready to drop the puck too. So it made it interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. And the other thing that makes it interesting is it also encourages guys to go to the net and follow up because they might be forced to get a pass, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Some
that's
guys were
wild.
not really happy when they got whistled because they wanted their goals, but yeah, that was fun.
So Mario was my hero growing up. Like for sure, he was my guy. I mean, I liked other players, but he was my guy. Like Pittsburgh Penguins logo on the locker. I mean, like I just loved everything about Mario. What was that like to be around him? And yeah, I mean, he was older than you, so he must have been an idol for you too. I assume seeing him come up through the ranks.
Well, it was like I said, we were playing ball hockey outside and stuff. He was normal kid. He was probably 6 feet already when he was 12, whatever. We knew he had something. I mean, it was ridiculous what he could do with the puck, and even when he went bantam, then the first year, excuse me, midget AAA dominated too. So I mean, we knew he's going to be an all-star. I mean, that was written in the sky. So, but just to watch him, things he did with the puck. So a few things I got from just watching him. I said I have to try that. I have to try that. Finally, it worked. But a few things that from him came natural. So it's for us guys, we have to work on things a little more. But yeah, it was a treat just to watch him because we played before. So with Pee Wee, just say Pee Wee Double A, played before, then Bantam Double A, then Midget Double A, and played after that. So we all played and we all set. Nobody left. We all want to see Mario play. I mean, already at 13, 14 years old. So yeah, that was unreal.
That's
That was
cool.
unreal.
That is really awesome.
It is.
So yeah, well, we're already over time. I told you. I mean, not that we
All
have
right.
a time limit, but
No worries.
I want to talk. Just maybe we'll take the last couple minutes here just to talk about what you're doing now, meaning the coaching side of it. Did you said earlier you've always been super passionate about the game, and the game has been a part of you essentially your whole life. Did you know after playing for 42 that was what you wanted to do? Definitely get into the coaching side of it.
Absolutely, I did. And it hurt me a little bit because I played till 42, and coaching wise, I started late a little bit, and then I stayed in Europe. So with family reasons and health reasons, so kind of hurt us a little bit, hurt me a little bit with my my coaching career being back in North America. But finally, last year, I was able to go back in the Quebec League as assistant coach. But I'm looking forward to other possibilities. I think I'm there, so to speak. Again, I don't want to sound pretentious, but with all the experience I have in the game and where I'm from, where I come from, and everything like that, I think I'm ready for the next step, and I'm just waiting for that opportunity.
What do you find? What do you find most rewarding about being a coach?
Well, one thing, it's I just got this year. Our captain, he won the Memorial Cup a few years back, and he's just played as a 20-year-old, and he just wrote me a reference letter, and he said, Pat, I wanna write this letter for you because uh, you've changed the player I am. And I was like, okay. And things like that, when you have players coming and telling you how you've helped, and the things he said on that letter, I was like, it's the first time I told my wife, I said, this is unbelievable. So recognition of a player, not because of the points or whatever he does, but knowing that I did something for him, not just on the hockey side, but the personal side as well. That's rewarding. I mean, that's what it's all about at the end. It's the connections and if you can change somebody's, not life, but perspective and something like that. And for me, it's I've the one comment I've had from the players. I've been coaching 13 years now. It's that the players, I always go with merits. For me, there's never a name, there's never a number. It's with merits, and I've always thought I wanted to be coached in a fair way. That if I deserved it, then I earned it. If I didn't, that day I didn't. And it's okay. And I've always coached that way, and I think I've had a lot of respect from the players for that because I'm a fair coach. That's the biggest word, that from the 13 years I've been coaching, that I'm a fair coach, and the guys know that if you're going to give me 100%, and you deserve to play, you're going to play. And sometimes the guy beside you has it more than you do, and you have to respect that. So that's the biggest compliment I had from the players, that I'm an honest coach, and I go with merit. So
Yeah.
there's no favorites either.
Yeah, that's you mean, you talk about the reference letters, and you mean I'm blessed with the fact of what I do, that I receive those types of things now and again as well, and it really reminds me of what that it is important what you do, what we do, and because you do make an impact. I mean, and again, to me, I don't pretend to be. These players are the ones that put in the work, and they're the ones that are maybe going to listen and apply it or do the thing. So I mean, it's on them. Like I try and take as little credit as possible. But the fact that we can be on a platform or help the process, right? It is life changing, right? I mean, it is, like, there are things that you can, whether it's the career, whether it's life or whatever, like you really can have an impact. And I think, I mean, and I hear it in your voice too. It's like when you put the athlete first, period, right? Like put the athlete first, put their experience first, what they want first. Like that shines through like loud and clear. And I remember when I had coaches like that, I mean, like where it was like, okay, this isn't about him, or it's not about his career. It's not about, this, it's about what's going to tick for me. Right. Like that's a really cool spot to find. And yeah, hockey's become much more relationship based. I find, right? Like from a coaching standpoint, you have to build trust with the players. You can't just tell them what to do. They want to know why they're doing it, and and all the rest of it. And I think that's a good thing. I really do, because I think that there's a human element involved in sports for sure, right? Especially when you're dealing with a team sport like hockey, where we have 20 players that need to trust each other, go to bat for each other, get along with each other, and they all have different goals and they all have different dreams, right? And it takes somebody like you behind the bench that needs to manage that. And when that gets managed well, good things happen, for sure.
You just said we're all humans, we're all people, we're different, we have different things going on in our lives, and everything's, but we all go for the same goals. We strive for the same thing. It's a grind. I mean, it's a process, like you said. And if the guy that plays for you can't trust you, it's for everything. The guys that you are working with, for the mental aspect, he doesn't trust you. Whatever you say, it's not going to go in.
Yeah.
So I mean, you need that trust aspect, and then it's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to always go in and say, oh yeah, the coach is always right. There's always going to be guys are in, guys are out. It's normal. On 22 guys, you can't have 22 guys all the ways thinking the same thing, and it shouldn't be right. But as long as you have that respect factor, then always starts from there, 100%.
Yeah. So you talk about meritocracy and coaching from a meritocracy standpoint. Which do you think that comes from your own personal experience, like being somebody that maybe didn't get the chance? Like, are you looking for those kind of diamonds in the rough? Like, you want somebody to, like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying by that, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to coach that way, I think really allows a culture of
Mhm.
production, right? Because
There
like
you go.
what you do is going to get rewarded, and I think that's a really helpful place to come from. But do you think that has something to do with your own experience with the game?
Probably the unfairness that I went through. Probably, I'm not a political guy. I've always believed in, if even if I didn't deserve to play that day, I was bad, or I didn't have it, and I deserved, have less ice time, and it's fine. But sometimes you have to go with the odds. Sometimes in the decision, even though I had a bad game, my coach probably put me in the 6-on-5 when there was a minute left to go, because you have to go with the odds. But in all fairness, for me, yeah, it does come from that. So
Yeah.
and you get so much more from the guys when you do that, because they compete between each other for the right reasons, and everybody knows that, hey, if you have not a bad game, but if you have it less that day, and Poto has it more, then he's gonna go. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
the next day, maybe Poto's not gonna have it less, and Tommy's gonna be.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, it brings a level of competitiveness between them, and it's they all know what to expect. There's no gray area. It's
Yeah.
black and it's white, and you guys do that, and it's go. So so for me, it's easiest way to do that is that way. So.
Cool. So as far as you now going forward, what is I know you've always been a goal driven guy, and trying to have goals and dreams and sets. So what does that look like for you in your coaching world? Is being one of the 32 head coaches of an NHL team, is that the pinnacle for you at this stage?
Well, let's be honest. Head coach, no, but I'm in talks with a few NHL teams. Uh, with player development, or video coach, even assistant coach on the bench in the first team or in the American Hockey League level, and working with the guys. I'm in talks with a few teams, and my name is there, and just waiting to hear back on the draft and everything like that. So it's timing is not there, but hopefully I will hear back from a few of them, and see what happens.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, so the next step would be hopefully a step to the NHL, but then, who knows, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of life left, right? One of my good buddies, Brad Larson, there just got the head coaching job in Columbus. I mean, he was assistant for 7 years, right? He kind of, that was his dream. He didn't really have a timeline or whatever, but now he's got it and he's running with it. So, yeah, I guess you never know what happens, but being around the best players in the world, in the best league in the world, would probably be a pretty cool experience.
Well, it's just to get my foot in the door. I told one GM, I won't say his name, but he's a GM from the NHL team, and I can say we are friends. I even told him, hey, if I need to go swipe the floors of the bathroom of the guys, I will do it. Just get my foot in the door. I mean, I'm willing to do everything. I'm hungry. I know what I can bring, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking for $1 million. I just want the opportunity, just like I did when I was a player, to prove what I'm done, and then you guys decide if I'm worth it. But I just need that one opportunity to get my foot in the door, and then it's on me, So that's all I need.
That's fantastic. That's a great way to end. Thanks for joining us. I know you're all the way over there in Italy, and we had a little bit of connection issues, but I think it worked out well enough from an audio standpoint. Really love hearing your story and have an opportunity to share it. And yeah, I mean, an inspiration, really, man. Like, you're a professional. From when I knew you, your career says a ton. I mean, you just look at the stat line to do what you did in the area you played at the size you were. There had to be a lot going right between the years, not just from a skill standpoint, but you had a lot of other things to overcome. So thanks for sharing all that with us today, and I hope all the coaching dreams come true for you, partner.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Appreciate. Keep doing the good work with the guys there, and you're doing a good job. And it was a pleasure reconnecting again, man.
Cheers.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of my conversation with Patrice Lefebvre. Patty, thanks so much for coming out today. Really, really enjoyed my time catching up with you again. And I love that you call me Poto, actually, for those listening. Usually it's Pods or Podsy throughout my career, and Patrice was one of the only players, if not the only one, that called me Poto, and still to this day calls me Poto, which I like. So that's cool. Awesome thing about hockey that you got to get a nickname early, or you're not liked. The fact that if somebody calls you by your first name, you have not been accepted by the group yet. At least back when I was playing. So hockey nicknames was always a fun thing. But just a recap of the discussion with Patrice. 5'5", to do the things that he did, to have the production that he did, to continue to show up as consistently. You know that people are looking for a reason to say no, right? That's the thing. When you're 5'5", the world's different in hockey. Well, even now, but especially in that day and age, that if you didn't show up, you were gone. People did not want to look for opportunities for you. They wanted to look for reasons to say no. So we had to overcome this again and again and again, and to supply production consistently and to show up with an edge to his game that other people just simply didn't have to do. So like what an inspiration to have the career that he did, to score the amount of points that he did, to win the awards that he did, to go through the ups and downs of the leagues that he played on, to be an IHL scoring championship, and then to earn his 3 games in the NHL. Really is a fantastic thing. I wish nothing but the best for Patrice. He's now in the coaching market. The fact that he talks about meritocracy. In my introduction, I talked about meritocracy and how the LA Kings did not want to award merit, how they financially punished me for being productive. That is not how Patrice operates as a coach. He wants those guys who are going, that are working, to get rewarded. And you know what? We as humans, we appreciate that. That's what we want. We want a fair chance. We want a fair shake, and we want things to be, relevant, to have it make sense. So for him to do what he's doing now, for him to have the pedigree that he has and the resume that he has, I know whatever bench he's on, he's going to be able to impart a lot of knowledge. He's going to give the players an honest shake, and he's a great communicator. So it'll be awesome to watch his career. And Patty, I wish nothing but the best for you, and hope you land that NHL job soon. And if not, wherever you land, I wish you nothing but success. So once again, lots of good stories here. But till next time, play hard and keep your head up.